Hi, this is Judy from Fox Cities Quilt Company, and this is Sunday from the Sewing Room. Today I'm going to talk to you about batting. There are a ton of different battings in blends and 100% cottons and 100% polyesters and all kinds of things. I'm only going to talk to you about the ones that we carry in the shop, otherwise we would be here for hours and nobody wants to do that. So I'm going to talk to you kind of about the process, about what things are in batting, and try and demystify some of the things that we talk about when you're in the shop asking us about batting. First of all, batting is usually a material that is 100% or a blend of some fibers, typically cotton, and it's carded. And carded is the process of combing the fibers so that they are the consistency and smoothness of the texture that they would like the batting to be. There's also needle punching, and that it kind of does the same thing, except needle punching is used for kind of a different process. But a lot of battings are carded, especially wool. Battings also contain different things in them, or may contain different things in them. And one of the things that they can contain is scrim, glues, and resins. Scrim is a really fine mesh of a material, and it's typically a polymer or a polyester. And I showed you that in the slide before this video. And lots of times they will needle punch what is already carded into that scrim. What that scrim does is it holds the fibers together so that you can pull them. Now, a cotton batting that is carded a lot may produce the same thing depending on the process, but scrim does hold it together, and it allows you to quilt at a further apart length. So for instance, a batting with scrim, you are likely to be able to quilt up to 8 inches apart, and that's a lot. And it might be good for something that may be a quilt that you are tying. So that's what scrim is. Glues are self-explanatory, and a resin is typically a polymer, another type of polymer that is heated and goes into that batting as well. One of the other battings that we carry in the store is a Quilter's Dream Blend batting. It's a 70-30 batting, meaning it's 70% cotton and it is 30% polyester or fine microfibers. It does have a micro scrim in it, so meaning it is that mesh that is super, super, super fine. We like this a lot for shop samples. We make a lot of shop samples with it. It still drapes really nicely, but we like to use it for shop samples because we can hang it up on the wall and it's not going to, the corners aren't going to flop on us. The other thing that it is really good for is if you have an embroidery machine, it is really good as a stabilizer for something, a quilt that you're going to embroider. I really like it because I can use a really fine mesh stabilizer along with this 70-30 batting, and it is going to just embroider up really, really nicely. Quilter's Dream does tell us that the 70-30 blend batting is also 100% made in the USA by 100%, and the cotton is grown in the United States. So that's one of the reasons that we like Quilter's Dream blend batting. Another great batting that we carry in the shop is a bamboo batting. It's called a Luna batting, and it is a bamboo cotton blend. Bamboo is ultra sustainable. It is the fastest growing plant on the planet, depending on the species. And bamboo, believe it or not, does grow in the United States. There are certain species of bamboo that are indigenous to the United States. Then the bamboo is a little softer than cotton. It is needle punched and it does have a super, super thin scrim, but it has no resins. And on that batting, they are also telling us that you can quilt as far as 8 inches apart. So this batting would also be really, really good for it, for those people who like to tie their quilts. Another good thing about this batting is even though it has scrim, it doesn't have resins. It's good for a bed quilt. I don't really typically like to use a batting that is going to be on my bed that does have glues and resins. The bamboo does wash up very, very nicely too. The other batting we have in the shop is Warm and Natural. You all know it. You're all familiar with it. It is 100% of the cotton in Warm and Natural is grown in the United States. It is 87.5% cotton and 12.5% of a polymer. And that polymer is likely the scrim, and it does have a little bit of resin in it. You can quilt it loosely as well, like I had mentioned before. And one of the things about Warm and Natural is it is a little bit heavier than some of the battings that we do have in the store. It is definitely heavier than the bamboo batting, and it is slightly heavier than the Quilter's Dream blend that we do have in the shop. So if you want something that's a little heavier and a little warmer, we have Warm and Natural in the shop for you, and we do have it in colors. And that is the other thing that I wanted to talk to you about, and I will at the end of this. The last two battings I'm going to talk to you about is Quilter's Dream 100% cotton batting. It is 100% cotton. All of that cotton too is grown in the United States, and everything in Quilter's Dream batting is manufactured in the United States. Quilter's Dream batting is carded or brushed or combed several times in order to give it its strength. You can pull it apart a little bit more readily than you can on the previous battings that I told you about, but the drape in the Quilter's Dream cotton is to die for. It is wonderfully soft. It would be great for those cuddly, snuggly baby blankets that you like to make, or even for your own bed. I find that Quilter's Dream needles really nicely, so whether you are making a large quilt and having it quilted, or you're making something smaller like a baby quilt and quilting it on your own, your needle is going to flow through there very, very nicely. I love both the Select and the Request. The Request batting is a little bit a lower loft, and the Select batting is a medium loft. And those are the two that we regularly carry in the shop. The last thing I'm going to talk to you about is the color of your batting. A lot of people make quilts with a white background, and typically you're going to want white batting. Except think about a white on white background. Sometimes it's nice to have a natural background, because what happens is if you have a natural background, then it makes the white that is on that natural or on that white background pop even more. You can, if you have it white all the way through, you'll still see that white on white, but it's not going to pop like a natural would. Obviously, if your quilt screams that it needs a white batting, we do have white batting, and I highly recommend it. Also consider black batting, which we also carry. If your quilt has a black background or a very dark background, you'll want to consider using a black batting. But for everything else, a natural look colored batting is absolutely fine. And we carry a whole lot of that. So those are our batting basics. Thank you for watching. This is Judy from Fox Cities Quilt Company. Bye-bye.